Whenever I would read my kids' Dr. Seuss books, or a Winnie the Pooh thing, say, I bet I could do that. But I'd never gotten around to really trying. So we picked the parable of the Good Samaritan, which is actually one of the only New Testament things we've ever done. Because the New Testament, we made the rule on day one that we won't portray Jesus as a vegetable, so that wipes out the Gospels, and then everything else is pretty much a letter, and so that wipes out those, because animating letters is not very much fun. But the parables are really interesting. So we took the parable of the Good Samaritan, and I wanted to just, as if Dr. Seuss, came back to life and decided to write the Good Samaritan.
Oh my,
said the doctor.
He's wearing a pot. The little one there is from Gibber-de-Lot. You saved this fellow? You pulled him through it? I don't understand. Tell me, why did you do it?
Actually, it came pretty easily, and it was really, really fun. And it took a long time. It's laborious, because you have to figure out how many stanzas does this whole thing have to be the right length. And then, so, here's the storyline. So how many stanzas to get from point A to point B, and then how many stanzas to get from point B to point C, which is very different than just writing a normal script. And then you get into each particular stanza. Okay, what do I have to say in this stanza, to get to the next stanza, and then I have to make it rhyme. And sometimes, if you're not careful, your quest for a rhyme will actually change the course of the plot. And sometimes you'll just, you'll go way out of your way to make a rhyme you want, like lobster. I want to use the lobster, so mobster is the only thing I can think of right now that rhymes with lobster, so I guess I need mobsters.
One Flibbian fellow who hated to fight tried hard not to act like a mobster. While pots crashed around him from morning till night, he'd just play with his pet wind-up lobster.
I hadn't hired any designers, so I designed Flibberaloo, the hills, did little pencil sketches, and then Chris Olson, was charged with building it, but he also, because I would only do pencil sketches, he had to pick the colors for everything, all the way through with The Toy That Saved Christmas. And that's right about the time we brought in Joe Sapulich, who actually drew with colors, and that changed everything. I did the basic sketches on here's what the hills look like, here's what the towns look like, and these guys have pots on their head, and these guys have shoes on their head. The shoes on their head was inspired by Terry Gilliam's Brazil. Some of the aristocratic women in that film actually wear very elaborate hats with giant upside-down shoes in them, and it's never mentioned. They never point it out. It's just one of the details. And I love that kind of bizarre, why is that? Not even going to try to explain it.
I think my biggest memory about Neighbor is the Hairbrush song. We needed to come up with a new silly song. Our fans were asking us for a silly song. We did one in show 1 and left it out of show 2 and started getting letters.
Where's the silly song? And my first thought was, I never promised you a silly song in every video. Who said we were going to do that? But we thought about it, thought, okay, yeah, that was pretty funny, so let's do another silly song.
I loved writing sort of farcical music. To me, growing up, that was something that was more enjoyable to me than regular music. I got more of a charge and a kick out of listening to, Weird Al Yankovic and listening to the Dr. Demento Hour than I did, listening to Top 40. I just like that sort of thing.
And I said, Mike, see if you can come up with something. We need another silly song.
And I said, sure, I can, probably do that.
And so he came back with the Hairbrush song, which is, for many people, the classic signature silly song.
Oh, where is my hairbrush? Oh, where is my hairbrush? Oh, where, 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 oh, where is my hairbrush?
Mike's original idea was, oh, where is my razor?
I was actually in the shower one day, and I usually shave in the shower, and the razor that I used wasn't there, and so I was looking around for it, and I just started singing, oh, where is my razor? Oh, where is my razor? Oh, where is my razor? And it just sort of clicked, and it's like, oh, well, that's kind of fun. So I just sort of built this whole song about, Larry looking for his razor so he can shave, and then went to Phil and said, hey, here it is.
And I said, Mike, I don't think we want kids running around the house looking for razor blades. And he said, oh, they wouldn't do that. Their parents wouldn't let them do that. I said, well, let's find something softer. And sponge, that's only one syllable, so that didn't work. So we end up with hairbrush.
No hair hair for my hairbrush. No hair for my hairbrush. No hair, no hair, nowhere, no hair, no hair, no hair, nowhere back there, no hair for my hairbrush.
It wasn't supposed to be entirely sung at first. Only the choruses were supposed to be sung and the verses were supposed to be spoken until my wife went into the booth and sang her part.
Why do you need a hairbrush? You don't have any hair!
Originally, the singing parts were spoken parts until Lisa Vischer sung the line that she was supposed to speak, and it just sounded great, you know, so all the spoken parts were reworked into singing parts, and it just made the whole thing more like a, you know, mini opera.
My little hairbrush.
I remember that day, that fateful trip.
It started from that tropic port aboard our tiny ship.
And then after we had spoofed Gilligan's Island, you know, I immediately turned to what's the next, you know, big, epic childhood rerun memory that I have, which was Star Trek. Parroting something as broad and big and you know, obvious as Star Trek it's almost too easy.
There it is, the USS Apple Pies.
And that, of course, created Scooter, you know, the carrot, to play the role of Scotty.
Oh, Captain, you've returned.
It was fun to jump in way back at the beginning because this was show 3 with the spoofs. Boy, back then we hadn't really scored anything at all. Phil as a director wasn't used to that. I as a writer hadn't scored much yet. So it was a little bit of a stretch to start bringing in those elements of creating a mood, especially in Flibberoloo as we're in a different location that's apart from the veggie, you know, tabletop and those sorts of elements.
I'm Jimmy Gord.
I'm Jerry Gord.
We're the new guys.
There are many different inspirations for voices. In this case, we both worked for a fellow previously who had a very kind of a uptight way of talking. And so we would both just, you know, kind of mimic him. And so we decided for these two characters to both do our versions of mimicking this guy.
You know, sometimes I think I could eat a whole bus.
Yeah, well, sometimes I think I could eat a whole spaceship.
The voices themselves sort of grew over time, but when they first appeared, you know, they were very sort of limited and choppy.
And then over time, as we did them more, Jimmy just got broader, and Jerry kind of got more nasal and more, you know, limited to this little space.
And Jimmy got a little more flamboyant and a little more up and down. Like that, he's a little more
Cartoonish, but they started out as our attempts to parody the same guy, our former boss, who will remain nameless.
The Muffin Man, the Muffin Man, do you know the Muffin Man? He lives on...
It's really funny how those guys came about. You know, Phil and I had done, you know, Bob and Larry as a pair before, and now along comes Jimmy and Jerry, and later we'd see Jean-Claude and Philippe. So it was always kind of fun to do those, you know, brother or paired voices with Phil, because we could just get in the booth and play out of each other, you know, which worked really well.
Mais oui, Jean-Claude, mais oui.
You know, it was really delightful. I just loved it. You know, loved writing it, loved seeing it come to life, the way that verse, you know, will bring a rhythm to a film, you know, is really, really fun. And it was time consuming, so I didn't try it again, you know, for quite a while until we got to A Snoodle's Tale. It was, you know, like 5 years later, 6 years later. But it was a lot of fun.
If you see someone who's hurt or in need, maybe it's time to perform a good deed. And when you finish, you'll find that it's true. When you make them feel better, you'll feel better too.
Here, let me help you.
Thank you.
Loving means lending a hand.
We've got 2 waltzes in that show, which we haven't written a lot of waltzes, but yeah, we've got 2 waltzes going on there. We've got busy, busy, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then love your neighbor, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. That's what makes a waltz, is the counting to 3.